Keep your radio dial right here. You're locked into the hottest news station on the planet. Hot 702.5 in FM sound. Blazing today's hip-hop, R&B, and pop music. Keeping your radio on fire. Bringing you the hottest, realest, riskiest talk shows live 24/7 on hot702.5fm.com.
What's going on, everybody? It's your main man, 360, the poet from the Morning Wood, and I'm here to talk to you about the Sci-Fi Center. It's your Vegas home for science fiction, horror, and fantasy. From comic books, toys, and posters to movie screenings and live events, they've got you covered. Located at 900 Cameron Avenue, Suite B209, give them a call, 702-900-4335, or reach them at thescificenter.com.
Hi. Hey.
What's up? All your favorite artists.
Check it out. Say my name. DJ Khaled. This is Mila J. Bruno Mars.
On hot702.5fm.com.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Cheryl Underwood, and you're tuned into the hottest news station on the planet, Hot 702.5.
Tune in now on hot7025fm.com.
Jones, hey, Greg Deville was at it, man, hey. If you want the real, holla at Greg Deville, he'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. If you want the real, listen to Greg Deville, he'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. I'm talking real estate, building wealth, making money for your family and yourself. Now tune in, we here to help. Now tune in, we here to help. You wanna be a broker, you wanna be broke. You wanna be the joker, you wanna be the joker. You gotta bring more to the table than your hope, dreams and wishing. I can feed you fish or I can take you out fishing. I can show you the vision, addition and division, mathematic equation. Make the money flip like an acrobatic, amazing. Greg Deville help you build the foundation. I'm saying, if you want the real, holla at Greg Deville, he'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. If you want the real, listen to Greg Deville, he'll tell you how to do it. Now get to it. I'm talking real estate, building wealth, making money for your family and yourself. Now tune in, we here to help. Now tune in, we here to help.
Okay, here we are. Hey, Christina.
Greg, how you doing?
How are you?
Good.
Good. I wanted to talk about a few of the, we're not on yet, but just you and I speaking here.
I think you're live.
She didn't send me live, but okay, if we're live. Hi, I'm Greg Deville. Welcome to the show. We're excited to be back on this Wednesday. A little cloudy outside, but nonetheless, we're talking wealth and real estate. We're helping families create wealth through equity. It's very important that everyone realize when you pay rent, you're already paying a mortgage. You're already creating wealth. You're already creating success, right? It's doing it for somebody else. And so I brought with me today Christina Graham, who is with Barrett Financial.
Hello.
Christina is very, very knowledgeable. Hi, Christina. How are you this afternoon?
Doing great. I'm so happy to be here again, and I love your audience, and I love what we always talk about too. So excited.
Yes, absolutely. And empowering the community is so beneficial. It's imperative that I continue doing what I've been doing for so long, right? Over 20 years in Las Vegas in just real estate. But I came here in real estate, after being in real estate nearly 38 years, right? I'm having fun, right? We've just went virtual on our office. We're doing what many companies are doing right now. We're tapping in with AI. We're, virtual now. Everybody's working from home. Welcome to my home office, right? So, but I do have a virtual office, however. for the sake of compliance, right, Christina? We know what
Oh yeah,
compliance is. We do have
exactly.
an office. However, I wanted to use my home office. I think it's just important that we get with the times we're in. I'm hoping this big ugly bill. I haven't had the chance to catch the news that it doesn't, pass. It's going to hurt so many families out there. But in the meanwhile, Christina, thank you for coming on this afternoon. I want to talk about. We know that there are over 8,000 homes on the market
Hmm.
getting approved. Now, there are so many concerns I'm hearing from families about the interest rate. I know I'm going to ask,
Yeah.
as of today, what are we
Yeah.
looking at, right? Interest rate wise, what are we looking at to consider where our payments are going to be, right? Because it's always based on the interest rate. So
Exactly.
what is that looking like right now?
Rates do play a big part, and of course, it's not just, hey, what's my interest rate? There are a lot of
Yeah,
factors, your
yeah,
credit, your income, your debt to income ratio, but just
yeah,
giving a general census about roughly where rates are right now. So if you're
yeah.
an FHA buyer looking to purchase a home, rates are closer to about 6.5%. On a conventional loan, we're more or less 7.7%, 7.125%. So we're kind of
Okay.
in that ballpark. But again, as much as everybody loves to hone in and focus on that rate, it does play a big
Right.
part. But we want to focus on really what's going to be the affordability for your mortgage. What's your
Hmm.
mortgage comfortability?
Right.
So the whole genre or kind of quote that goes around right now is date the rate, marry the house, right? Get
Yeah.
into the home, make sure you're comfortable with the payment. That's going to be my big thing for you. Your ability to repay, we want to make sure that's intact. But know that eventually rates are up and down. They go up and inevitably they come right back down. So we can always
Mhm.
refinance you later on down the road.
Right. Right. So what I'm seeing is a ton of homes being reduced. They were in the mid 480s because the median home price right now is about 422, right? 422,000. What we're thinking is I'm seeing a lot of families looking under that four number, right? Because when you're looking at 6.5 and you're talking about, did you say 6.5
Yes,
possibly
yes.
as a rate? And then you multiply that times 400,000, right? So you're
Mhm.
upward of nearly 3 grand a month, right? When you talk tax, insurance, and things like that. And most people just are not comfortable there, right? They're
Mhm.
like, ooh, now let's make it clear when you approve someone, let's say they approve that 450, they don't like the number, but based on the system, they're actually approved there. It's not like you're just trying to make up a number.
Right,
They're
exactly.
actually approved. Yeah,
Your top end doesn't mean that you have to go that
right.
high,
Hmm.
right? So I
Yeah,
just like to tell buyers, hey, you're approved up to, but if you find a home lower than that, no, it's like a domino effect, and also your mortgage payment, your cash to close, everything else would be lower.
right, right. And then we're finding with the 401k program, many are using opting to use the 401 before it becomes a 201, right? That's the fear, right? Have you been getting a lot of families using the 401? How's that looking at this junction?
Yep. So these are going to be acceptable ways in order for us to pay for down payment and or your closing costs. Your 401k, definitely leverage your 401k. Those are monies that you can borrow against yourself. So
Right.
I had a gentleman, he didn't have a whole lot sitting
Mhm.
in his savings account.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I realized he was on his job for 10 years, and I saw, hey, there were a deduction from his paycheck stubs going into this 401k. And I'm like, let me ask and see if there's some monies that maybe we can use for down payment,
Right.
or just closing costs. And inevitably, there were. He had about 15,000 in there. He's like, well, I didn't think to really mention it. It's really money that I don't see. Just goes into
Yeah.
this account in the cloud kind of uh, an account that he just never sees. So he didn't think to mention until I asked. But those are
Right.
going to be acceptable funds in order for us to use for down payment cash to close. And
Right.
you're borrowing against yourself. So you don't have to worry about
Hmm.
us also taking a part of your debt to income ratio with whatever you borrow against.
Yeah.
So you are going to repay it back, but I don't have
Mhm.
to count that against you. So that's still going to allow you to maximize your buying power.
I've been starting this campaign I'm on my second week, right? And many of you know, home ownership campaign is huge for me. I'm seeing many families take advantage of the home ownership. Right now, many sellers are reducing their prices, right? Because there's so much inventory that buyers really have options today.
Yes.
I'm looking every day on MLS and I'm seeing price reduction, because sellers are asking you, please buy my house. Look over here, right? So they're reducing the price to get with the market. So if you consider getting pre-approved, your options are great. Like I stated, there are nearly 8,000 homes in the Las Vegas Valley that are on the market that you have option to, and there's a lot of under 450 home prices that are making the mortgage payment very, very reasonable. But Christina, I'd like to ask you, is it doable for families to, let's say, a family of 4, a family of 3 to go in together? What does that look like for a brother and sister, 2 cousins, to go in on a mortgage? What does that look like?
Yeah, so basically, we could qualify if let's say, for instance, hey, you say I want to qualify by myself, but the buying
Okay.
power just isn't
Mhm.
there, right?
Yeah.
How much home you're actually wanting, you want to be eligible for a higher buying power. But when you add on maybe your brother, your sister, your significant other to the loan, that's going to allow you to maximize your buying power, increase it. Because
Yes.
now it's not just your income, right? Your FICO, your debts that we're considering. It's now going to be 1 or 2 other persons. As long as credit's worthy, they make a healthy income, they're not loaded with the whole lot of debt. It's actually going to help your file in order to increase your buying power, so that way you really get to maximize how much home that you'd be eligible for. Of course, when we add applicants on the application,
Yeah.
with certain lenders, I do have to take the lowest of the FICO scores on the application. But I do have a couple lenders that allow me to actually use what's called a blended FICO. So
Okay.
that's adding everybody's FICO up, divided by however many people are on the application. That's going to be the FICO that I use for qualification with that lender. So that's
Okay.
something new that some of my lender partners, they've
Mhm.
they've seen the need for it. And that's just going to help open the door for more people.
Now, we talk about our veterans out there who may have purchased a home in the past, don't know that they're eligible at this time. Can you explain about the eligibility for a veteran who may have in the past used their eligibility benefits, DD 214?
Yeah, if you've used your benefits before in the past, so one of two things: either you currently have a home and you've used your
Right.
benefits and you want to purchase another home, you could still purchase under your VA entitlement as long as
Yes.
there's enough entitlement left over, and we can do the worksheet for you. We can make the determination and say, hey, with no down payment, this is where you're at. With maybe a little bit of a down payment, here's where you're at. So you can basically do a subsequent use for your VA entitlement. But for those veterans that have never used their benefit at all, you're
Yeah.
missing the boat. You're
Yeah.
missing the boat. The VA loan is one of the easiest loans for veterans to qualify for, because the government, the United States, we want to thank our veterans for everything that they've done in the service
Absolutely.
that
Yes.
they've done, right?
Right.
So FICO requirements, technically there isn't a score requirement, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
we can kind of get around a lot of different things for our veterans, which is amazing. So technically not a down payment commitment, right? There's no down payment, technically no FICO score, but you do have to come out of pocket for your closing costs. But
Yeah.
you mentioned a really good thing earlier, is that in this market, the
Mhm.
sellers are really inclined to pay for a buyer's closing cost.
Absolutely. And I'm seeing that.
So,
In fact, yep, I've got a couple listings out there and the sellers have been already groomed. In fact, I've got a house for sale that we're already prepared, my partner and I, to give closing costs, right? So there's a way to creatively do that. Sometimes it's in increasing the price of the home
mhm,
for the buyer, giving a credit back to the buyer from the increase and adding a little bit from the seller's pocket to make this deal work. But I think people are afraid today because they're uncertain where the market is when it comes to our current presidency, right?
mhm.
Administration is just, and so we don't know, but I still say this, and that goes with my solar marketing, because I'm campaigning home ownership and solar marketing, right? Renewable energy. because many people are paying Nevada Power. I don't care if you buy a house, you're still going to be attached to paying Nevada Power. So why not get into solar, right? That way you use your renewable energy, and you're working toward paying off the house and your power, because you're always going to have to pay it. When we talk about the home ownership, one of the bigger things is not so worried about what the interest rate is, because I always like to say we pay 100% interest rate when we pay rent.
Yeah.
So let's say I give you a mortgage at 7.25. It's still better than what? 100% with a return on your investment. Isn't that great?
It's amazing. I love that. And that's really a good point. And I think that's what people really need to hone in on. And one thing I want to mention about the seller credit and how else we can like leverage that in this market
Yes.
is with there's something called a 2-1 buy down. So
Right.
basically, a buyer, let's say the rate is a 6.99% interest rate,
Right.
right? That's the starting rate. This isn't anything remotely close to like an adjustable rate. So I don't want people to get misconstrued with that. That's completely different than what I'm going to mention now.
Right.
But let's say your start rate is 6.99%. A 2-1 buy down gives you the opportunity to have a lower rate in the first 2 years of your loan. So when you start that loan, first year is going to be a 4.99%, second year 5.99%, and then years 3 through 30, it's going to be go back to the original rate, the 6.99%. I'd qualify you always at the original rate. But what
Right.
does that do for you, the buyer? It allows you to have a lower mortgage payment in those first couple years. If there's opportunities to refinance, then you go ahead and do that. If not, then worst case, it's just going to go back to that original rate. And
Right.
those seller credits, right? We leverage the seller credits to kind of prepay those interest rates in those lower years. So that way you don't have to worry about coming out of pocket for that. And that's going to make the difference for lower payments too. So I just wanted to kind of bring that up.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's great. We've worked on a few, as everybody know, I work on about 9 lenders. And so that's actually a great program. You just got to get a buy-in of the seller, right? Seller's got to buy into it. However, it is a great program for many people to go in at the 499. That's, again, great program. The seller credit right now, buyers that are listening, sellers are hungry. Sellers are waiting for an offer. And when you ask, and I tell people, even if you don't really need all of it, ask for a portion of it, because sellers are willing to give a credit to bring the attention to their property. I got a phone call for one of my listings yesterday, and she said, I'm working on an offer, but is your seller willing to give any concessions, right? Any closing costs? And I said, absolutely, always willing to consider. So don't let anyone tell you, you don't have all the money. There are down payment programs that can help you get the down, which is what Christina's doing, right? Whether you're getting it through the VA, you're getting it through the DPA down payment program. And this class that I've done for many, many years, we can do those home buyer education courses online. So we don't have to necessarily give up 8 hours of our day anymore, because I can do it in online, right? So that helps many of you. Now, I know, Christina, you have notes, and I want to give you a moment at 5 to go over some of the things that you've written down to discuss with our buyers that are, or prospective buyers that are listening today.
A couple of things that I've seen kind of taking the applications and kind of seeing how this year's playing out is that,
Yep.
buyer confidence is a little bit lower. Everybody's kind of
Yep.
waiting on the edge. And one of the big things that I think buyers are still have in their mind, and it might be common knowledge as much as we think that it is, because we're both in this space, but a lot of home buyers still think that they need a 700 FICO. That's just not the case anymore, right? We can
Right.
qualify buyers for with a FICO as low as 580. And in some cases, even if you have a FICO lower than that, we could still get you qualified for a home loan. So that is one thing that, hey, you know what? I don't feel that I'm 100% ready, but you don't need to be 100% ready. You don't know what you don't know when it
Right.
comes towards buying a house. So allow yourself the opportunity to take at least that first step to get yourself educated on your situation specifically, because we could be able to qualify you, but instead, you're every single month you're applying more money towards your landlord's pocket versus investing into your future. And another thing that I've also seen too is that the 20% down payment. I know we kind of touched on that, But you don't need 20% down payment in order to purchase a home. That's a huge misconception. Sometimes grandparents or parents, if they bought homes
Yeah.
back in the grade or later, they might think that this is still the case, but it's just not. There are so many down payment assistance programs. Some are repayable, some are grant programs, so you don't ever have to repay the money back. But there's assistance out there for you, the home buyers. We want to see buyer confidence increase, and it's about educating the public as to what are the programs that are readily available out there to help assist and really bridge the gap for homeownership for you.
Yeah.
And down payment assistance might be one of those things.
Mhm.
So that's a huge thing. First time home buyers, those that have worked for the state, some are specific for our doctors and nurses. So don't limit yourself in the possibilities when it comes towards purchasing. And the last thing I'll just touch on, and then maybe you can chime in here, Greg, is I also see that a lot of home buyers, they think two things. One, they think they have to be on a job for a minimum of 2 years, and
Right.
that's not the case either,
Okay.
right? You want to see a history, job history of at least 2 years, right?
Mhm.
2 years on the
Mhm.
job. Excuse
Right.
me, a work history of 2 years, but you don't necessarily have to be on this said job for 2 years,
Yeah. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
if you look for a better opportunity or in the same career field, that's acceptable. So don't think that you have to kind of, hey, I have to put my time in before I can think about purchasing a home. That's not the case. And also for my business owners out there, a lot of times, you know this, being a business owner yourself, Greg,
Mhm.
when you do your tax returns, it's to your benefit to have a lot more write-offs.
Mhm.
So you might claim, hey, my gross income is maybe 300,000, but after all
Yeah.
my write-offs, it might be
Mhm.
closer to about 2,000, right? Just because
Okay.
you don't want to have to pay Uncle Sam, whatever's
Mhm.
owed.
Right.
So if you come to face with these situations, don't think that that's going to be a hard stop for you. We also have out of the box programs. So there's our traditional programs, and then we have programs that might be well suited for a person that might not fit in those traditional guidelines, like our
Uh-huh.
bank statement loan. Bank statement loan, we can collect 12 months of bank statements, 24 months of bank statements in order for us to issue an approval. Add up all the deposits for 12 or 24 months, take a haircut off the top, like 10%. That's going to be your income for qualification. We also have what's called a P&L loan, a profit and loss loan for our
Mhm.
business owners, where we're just getting a profit and loss statement prepared by your CPA. Whatever that bottom line is on that P&L statement, that's going to be the income that we take to the underwriter and issue approval on. So I'll kind of give you back the floor, but those are some of the things that I'm seeing right now in the marketplace and kind of want to debunk and just kind of allow people maybe more opportunity to purchase.
I like the out of the box program. I
Mhm.
remember we did a show and you mentioned about I always use the term Uncle Willie giving you some money towards your down payment, right?
Yeah.
And so now I understand we can use the gift from Uncle Willie, Uncle Charles, right? We can use it as a gift without Uncle Charles having to give all of his bank information.
Yes.
So speak to that for someone listening who has maybe let's what we like to term a rich uncle or aunt that can help us without getting into all of their business.
Yeah. So a gift is going to be another acceptable form of funds that we can use for a purchase
Yeah.
transaction.
Hmm.
So, for example, if you do have a rich uncle or aunt and they're willing to contribute, so the whole thing is we don't want them to send you the money, the buyer, right? If you're
Right.
purchasing a home, don't have them send it to your account directly. No, no,
Right.
no. We want them to send it to the title company. The title company, if you don't already know, they're the third party in the transaction, and they're going to be the person to hold the money and to assist with the signing. They're the middleman.
Right.
So we're going to have your donor, gift donor, send the funds directly to title. We get a receipt from title, and then the only thing that we need your gift donor to do is just sign a gift letter, just stating
Okay.
X funds was a bona fide gift and it came from X account. That's it. I don't want to see all the details and everything, all the bank statements. No, just if
Yeah.
you do it the right way, that's going to save us a ton of paperwork and less
Hmm.
questions from the underwriter, which I'm a queen at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Minimum documentation.
And that's and when I heard that, that was so powerful because a lot of people would love to help their niece, nephew, son, or daughter with a down payment without having to go through their own personal life information, bookkeeping. Just give them a gift. Now, as you mentioned, it is going to be a gift letter, which states that there is not a repayment expected, correct?
Correct, exactly.
It is a gift. Now, if they can gift it to you, wonderful. Now, I want to pause here and speak to those because we're seeing a lot of notice of default, Christina. Many, and I got a person right now, they bought their home. It's been a year in April. And unfortunately, some things are going on that we're having to sell that home. There's not a lot of equity in the home, so we're having to get involved into what we like to term a short sale. Now, I've been the king of short sales for many years when they were really on the high rise, right? They were like everywhere. I want to speak to those for a moment, only because we're seeing a lot of job layoffs. A lot of the government jobs have been cut, and many of are having to deal with the backlash of their car. If you see a tow truck without a sign and a car on the back that looks pretty new, more than likely it's a repossession. Unfortunately, those are the times we're living in, is you get behind and you can't, you borrowed every measure you could to stay on top, and things just fold in on you. Listen, there is help for those of you who are having this dilemma in your life. To please contact Greg Deville. Contact me. I want to help you sell your home, save your equity. Because, Christina, when people are behind on their mortgage, right? 30 days, it is reported to the financial institution. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct. Yep.
And when you see someone trying to qualify for a home equity line of credit, which you do as well,
yes.
Are they able to qualify with the 30-day late on their track record on their FICO?
Oh, for home equity line, a lot of times it's a little more difficult unless there's like extenuating circumstances. I know some lenders, they might excuse one, but if there's multiple, then it is gonna be considered a little bit of a higher risk file. So,
okay. But now, if we're facing a loss of a job, because I heard you say with extenuating circumstance, I'm sure it has to be there was a hardship, but you still have your job, you still have income.
Right.
But a person has I'm meeting people with 150,000, 200,000 in equity and can't touch it because they've gotten 30 days behind. They've been laid off from the job, but they have great equity. And I'm seeing lenders deny the file because that 30-day notice. And for those of you that are listening, if you're late beyond the 15th, as you know, the mortgage isn't late until after the 15th of the month. You can still keep it from getting a 30-day late as long as you pay it like the 30th before midnight. Because if the next month gets there, the first of the next month, it shows as a 30-day late. So we want to take preventive measures on my talk show and educate the consumer that, listen, if you pay it late, it's okay. Maybe $20, $30 late fee, no big deal. But if you can't pay it and you're piling up the 30-day lates, many of you need to consider just sell the property, because that equity, you'll be able to buy again. Now, I heard you mention, Christina, a 580 credit score, right? For average buyer, right? So let's say they lose their home. They don't lose their home. Let's just say they sell the home. How long would it take? Let's say they rent for a year, but they have money from the equity. They pay off some bills. Can they purchase? Because I know they're going to have to rent for a little while.
Yeah.
What is expected? I got 20% now. I got 20% I could put down on a house. I've got my scores down to a 580. I just sold my home 6 months ago. Can I contact you for a loan?
Yeah, but it didn't go short. Was it short sale sold?
No, in this case, no. So that's another home. We do short sale. I was just advertising. Some have short sale, but many have equity in their home.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I'm talking to that crew who has equity. They can't get to it unless they sell. So if they sell, pay off the mortgage, they're like 2 or 3, 4 months behind. So they've got a derogatory for, let's say, 90 days. But I've got 20% down since I've sold my home. The loan is paid off. Here we are 6 months down the road. Can I qualify for a home loan?
Not the traditional way. Mm-mm.
Okay. All right. So I need to wait at least 1 year. I mean, I got 20% down, but I
Yeah.
need to wait. And my credit score is at a 580.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
I've been 3 months behind on my mortgage payment. Can I? Now the home is sold. Remember, it's sold now.
Yeah, home is sold, but
Oh,
what we do in the process, we're looking at we're almost like an archive of your financial history. So
okay.
even though that home is sold, right, we still are going to see the derogatory
Yeah.
items, they
Okay.
being like 90 days late on credit.
Okay.
So that's something to consider because then they
Okay.
want to make sure, hey, with your ability to repay, is that still back intact? Unless there was something really extenuating and we can
Yeah.
speak to it, I
Okay.
will go really all the way to the finish line or whatever we have
Yeah.
to do for the buyers, writing letters of explanations, getting paperwork in. But that might be a tough situation, especially for an FHA loan if it's
Okay.
580. Yeah, that's going to
Okay.
be
All right.
really
I'm
painful.
I'm 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 fighting for these. I'm fighting for you guys out there that are listening. But
Yeah.
let's say, okay, another scenario. So you've got behind on your mortgage.
Mm.
You're 4 months. Now, many of you know if you're 4 months, the foreclosure department can consider. And here's the thing I want to make mention as well. When you sign those loan documents, I think somewhere around page 7 or 8, you sign a promissory that if you fail to pay your mortgage within 120 and 90 to 120 days, they have the right to foreclose on a property. So that's in this. When you went to title and you sign that promissory note. So somebody said, Christina, they're trying to take my house. No, they don't want your house. They want the interest on the money from
Mm-hmm.
the payment on your house. But if you can't make the payment, run to the hills. Let's sell it, save the equity. Now we're going to rent for 1 year, Christina.
Yeah.
Now I got them 100, and the last lady I got her 142,000.
Mm.
So it's coming up on a year. She's paid off some debt. Her credit score has gone up. Now, can I bring her to you now? It's coming up on a year. Her lease is almost expiring on the house because she's been there a year. Can we now
Yeah.
consider being able to qualify for a home? She's got the same job.
Okay.
Nothing's changed. She got behind because of some layoffs, but they're back to work. Things are good. Can
Okay.
she now possibly qualify for a home loan?
Yeah, I would say so. We can look at it. Everything's on a case by case scenario with credit
Right?
also
Okay.
plays a fact, but that was a big, red flag with as long as she's able to overcome that. It's not like a red
Okay.
scarlet letter for the rest of her existence,
Yeah.
but yeah, as long as she can show that she's been making payments for another 12 months, we get automated approval in the system, credit has gone up since that default, then
Okay.
we should be okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right, you guys listening there. 1 year, you're going to rent for 1 year. So we're going to sell that home. We're going to pay that loan off. We're going to put some money in your pocket. You're going to pay some of those bills off.
Hmm.
And if you can pay that car off, right? Because that's another big ticket, right? Is that car. People in those car notes, because car notes are running $700-800 a month. And not to mention full coverage insurance, those costs, yeah, upward of $200, $300, $400 for insurance. So I'm really just trying to help the consumer who has a current mortgage but are in default. There is hope. In other words, what we're saying today, and I have Christina the lender on with me live, is that there is hope. If you have to sell, contact Greg Deville, 702-349-0162. Let's sell that home, save that equity. We get the check within 24 hours of the sale, meaning now you can go pay off some items. And here's what we're going to do. Once we pay off those items, we're going to rent for that 1 year. And then we're going to come back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
And that's what Christina said. With the right extenuating circumstances, you could possibly be back into home ownership within 1 year of selling that property and paying off the bank.
Yeah. And I think the
So
whole right.
go ahead.
And the whole thing there, I think also to drive is like you're trying to help them stop the bleeding, right?
Yeah,
Because
there you go.
in the immediate, the affordability is just not there for the house. So
Hmm.
then it's better as a better option to sell versus
Hmm.
keep the house and then potentially have it taken away from you. So it's those that have that need, and
Yeah,
it's an unfortunate thing, and it's terrible to have to come to face with that. But it's better to do that and for Greg to help you in that situation versus for you to lose everything and like, oh, I didn't know what I didn't know, and I just sat there idle because out of fear. So it's like, no, you need to start exploring your options. And Greg, he has over a decade plus of experience on that side. So he can help write that plan for you too, if that's something that you're facing. So just wanted to drive that home.
Right, right. And then there's hope. There's hope for those who had to do a BK. Let me speak to that for a moment, because if you've done a BK, you can purchase again within 2 years of discharge.
Mhm.
Okay. So again, the bank would sign off. I've done a ton of those where people have had the BK. I get it. And some have put the home in the BK. Some have chosen not to put the home in the BK. Nonetheless, within 2 years of discharge, Christina can possibly look at that loan within the 2 years of discharge. Let's see if it's time to get back into homeowner. I guess my biggest thing is, and there is going to be hope again
Yeah.
after the hardship, right?
Exactly.
There's hope after the hardship. Are we all challenged right now? Absolutely. I'm downsizing in the office. I'm making changes as well. We're all trying to adapt to the market of where we are, right? If you got laid off, find another job. If you just can't seem to catch up, let's sell the home. But those of you who've been on your same job, you may have owned a home before, but it's been longer than 3 years. You can again. How do you know if it's 3 years? Have you been living in that apartment for 3 years? Have you been renting that house for 3 years? There you go. I've been here 5. Well, you're over 2 years behind getting back into home ownership. Now, as Christina mentioned, your FICO score is very important. Your debt to income is very important, right? So, Christina, when we talk debt to income, what are you looking for as a lender to help them, know where they need to be?
Yeah, so let's define debt to income. So debt to income is DTI, your debt to income ratio. So how much
Yes.
money you're actually bringing in from your employer versus your debts, right? Doesn't mean like electricity, utility bills. We don't care about any of that, but your credit card debts, your loans, your installment in debts, whatever that monthly payment is, that's
Yes.
what we're coming up against with your income plus the new mortgage payment. That's going to give us a percentage that we're going to take. And depending on what loan product, sometimes your debt to income can be as high as 50%. Sometimes it can be even higher, up to 56%. So we'll
Ooh.
kind of toggle those numbers for you and see, where do you fall in on all that. For our veterans, it can go even higher, right? We've approved. Again, it's all about affordability. It's about still
Yeah.
issuing approval, making sure, it's not just about shoving them in a home. It's making sure that they can afford the payment. But I've
Right.
qualified veterans with their debt to income ratio above 65%, right?
Oh, wow.
And still being able to issue an approval. So it just depends. So it's going to be
Okay.
a case by case. Mm-hmm.
Well, Christina, I want to appreciate you for coming. I know you're a busy, busy lady, and wanted to talk about, from a lender's perspective, what things look like for families to get back into homeownership. And if they haven't, what does it look like to begin the process, right? And so why don't you give your phone number so that those that are listening can reach you directly? What's that contact phone number for you?
Yep, it's 702-292-7252, 702-292-7252. And it's not about, because a lot of times people, they don't like to sit with a lender. They feel that it's very scary, it's intimidating. And I want to debunk all of that. Whether we're on the phone, via Zoom, or we meet in the office, I just want it to be kind of an open format. I've had clients come in and they've sat down with me, and sometimes they say, hey, I just don't think that I'm ready, but I just wanted to come for the information. That's
Yeah.
okay. That's what we're here for. We're here to serve you, the buyer, in order to make sure that you're comfortable, you're ready, and then to create generally a good plan for you to move forward, and that you feel confident when you do decide to take that next step and then work with Greg in order to find your perfect home.
And understand, those of you that are listening, your first home or your second home may not be your dream home. I'd say just get into a home that's comfortable, make it yours, like you made that apartment or that rental house yours, and let's build equity, right? Within 5 to 7 years, the average Americans keep a home from 5 to 7 years. Let's see what that equity looks like. You can, at that time, either refinance or you can sell the home. Now, refinancing simply means take or do a home equity line of credit. It just simply means taking money out up to 80% if you decide to HELOC that property. But if you sell, you get 100%, put it on the next house. but you've got to start building equity. And it's hard sometimes just to save money just because we life it, right? Things come up. Look like as soon as you get a little head, you need a set of tires. You know, you get a little bit of head, now the air conditioner need Freon, right? We're in the summertime, you know, one thing I know you need is good tires and air conditioning.
Oh yeah.
Right? But the heat will burn you. And if you don't have good tires, the heat will burn up those tires. So those are some of the, it's a free plug, right? But we want to help families, start creating generational wealth, right? It's very important. And so I've been on radio, Christina, now 9 years, going on our 10th year at Deville Realty Group. We're so excited. And just to know that we've helped countless numbers. And I want to pause right here just to thank everyone for the many, many referrals. There are so many people contact me and they'll say, can I give you a number, Deville? I got a family member or a friend on the job was just talking about looking into buying a house, but their money down is a little challenging. Can I give them your number? Because I think you'll be the ideal person, right? And to those moms and dads who refer your sons and daughters, thank you so much for those referrals. It has kept us in business. As I mentioned, we're going 10 years as a broker for my own company, Deville Realty Group. We're excited about continuing on our legacy, and we want to help many more. So those of you who, you think, can I give you listen, 702-349-0162 is my personal cell. I give it over 10,000 listeners a week. And if you can share that with your family members and your friends and your frenemies, we want to help. This is a campaign of homeownership. We want to help as many as we can. Now, as I mentioned to you, solar is very important. I put solar on my home over 2 years ago, Christina. I haven't gotten a power bill.
Wow,
I have solar and it is paying the bill. And so I'm able to use solar and not, because the energy started yesterday with a 9% increase on the battery. Yeah,
Wow.
July 1st, right? So I'm not affected by that by any means because I'm on solar. And so my campaign for renewable energy is big right now. If you own a home, it's no upfront cost. It is required of at least a 620 FICO, perhaps. Contact me for more information on that. 702-349-0162. Again, thank you all for the referrals, for the many families that do have family members and friends. Contact me. We're longevity. Christina, I think you've probably been one of my choice lenders for about 7 years, maybe now? 7, 8, maybe?
100%. Yeah.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. And you've been on the grind. And so we appreciate you taking time out of your busy Wednesday afternoon, midday. And anytime I call, you're always available. So I want to appreciate you for that. And give them your number once again, those that may just want to do an application, because you can do an application online. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, online, over the phone, whatever's easier for you. We can make it happen. If I capture your email, and then I'll shoot you my link so that we can just do the application online, or like I said, we can do it over the phone. But my phone number is 702-292-7252. That's 702-292-7252. Christina Graham.
Thank you again, Christina, and make it a wonderful week. I look forward to seeing you later over at the event where the network mixer for professionals is happening. I'll call you later and give you more information on that, okay?
Okay.
All right. Have a great day. Listen, Las Vegas, listen. Now, this homebuyer education course. Now, I offer that homebuyer education course online. I need you to get pre-approved so that you know how much you qualify for. Once you get your pre-approval started, we're going to set you with a link to do the homebuyer education online. So no more 8 hours unless you just want to. Now, those classes are still available. And they're given on a Saturday from 8 typically to about 3 or so, somewhere around there. However, I offer those, and I started those classes over 8 or 9 years ago. They're still going on. I just, transitioned to other areas. However, they're going on, but you have the ability to do it online. So contact me for more information, 702-349-0162. I'm Greg Deville, the real estate broker right here in Las Vegas, Nevada, helping so many families create generational wealth. Again, solar is big. Home ownership is huge. Creating wealth through equity is phenomenal because you're doing it already. You're just doing it for someone else. So if I can help you do it for yourself, let me do that. Okay. Again, my contact information, 702-349-0162. You can email me at DevilleRealty@gmail.com. You can find me on all social media platforms. Google, friend of mine, he's got my contact. If you need to Google me, you're driving, just can't seem to save the number. Google Greg Deville, the name you need to know right here in the Valley. Listen, I'm out of time, certainly not out of information to share with you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to speak and answer those questions. If I don't have the answer, we'll definitely find you the answer. Thank you so much for tuning in each and every Wednesday right here at Hot 702.5. This is what we do. We talk wealth and real estate. Thank again, Christina Graham, for the knowledge she brings as a lender to help so many of you understand the home buying process. So until I talk to you next week at 12 o'clock, Las Vegas, make it a great day and may God's best be yours. Take care.